All right, guys, so before we start the show today, we're actually going to do like a little, I don't know if you call it a contest or something like that, but
oh yes,
we're at 300 and something subscribers. We need to get to 1,000. So in celebration of talking about reparations today, I decided to do like a $100 giveaway to someone once we get to 1,000 subscribers. So what you do is email your YouTube handle to rptalktruth@gmail, and that will be in the description and or flashing on the screen right now. And once we get to 1,000 subscribers, we're going to put all the names in a box, shake it up, pull a name, and whoever that name is, we will be sending you $100. Nice. Not a lot of money, but you could use it for whatever.
Pocket
groceries, gas, pocket change, movies,
something.
Whatever you want to do. You know what I mean? So it's just our way of saying thank you to, for subscribing and listening in and all that good stuff, and a way to get you guys to take the subscription process a little more seriously. So I have a crispy $100 bill for one of you. You know what I mean? And it's, but you know what? I also want to count the people who subscribe after episode 1.
Yes.
So if you send your YouTube handle in, and the name matches one of those subscribers that subscribed within the last week, I think.
There you go.
A week and a half. Your name will also be in the pot. I also don't want to leave you guys out. So with that said, we're gonna flip over to the podcast. You ready to make it pop?
Let's go.
All right, guys. So today we're talking about reparations.
Reparations.
This is a
big
hot
topic.
You know what I mean?
It's being discussed among the candidates right now.
Yeah, it sure is.
Definitely.
It sure is. And
the black community is into it.
Have a lot to say about this, so let's just jump into it. This is the HPR Chronicles Podcast with Shakur and Smith.
Episode 2.
Episode 2. And it's a podcast about history, politics, and race. That's what the H, the P, and the R is. We're about truth. If truth offends you, I'm sorry, not sorry.
Yes.
And it's about facts only. This isn't pro-white or pro-black. It's pro-truth. This is a podcast about pro-truth. And I really want to stress that. Because a lot of times I think as, African Americans or Latin Americans or whatever it may be, we get accused of picking on, Caucasians or Europeans and stuff like that when we're talking about these subjects. But it just so happens that it was Europeans or whites or Caucasians that committed and caused these atrocities in America, and South Americas, and around the world.
Correct.
But if they happen to be Asian,
we're going to talk about it.
We would be saying the Asians.
Exactly.
So I just want to say that.
And I mean, it's coming from a black perspective right now with us because we are black.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's not meant to be like white people are bad, and it's just it's the history of what happened, and we're just going to give our views, along with the facts of what we have researched.
Yeah, exactly. So again, this is not a pro-white or pro-black podcast. It's a pro-truth podcast.
Yes.
And if we happen to be talking about stuff you've done and you happen to be of that race, I'm sorry, not sorry. we gotta face it, fix it, and
exactly. That's the whole objective. Is
the whole objective. Yeah.
Fix it and get past it and move on.
Exactly.
And I know that another thing about the whole which we'll talk more in depth with, is people are like, why not just move on? Things have changed, but anyway.
You guys are gonna find out why not move on. Things have changed.
Yes.
So all right. So let's break it down. And me and Chris, aka Crispy, will bounce off of each other. He has a lot of information. Some of it will be the same, and
correct.
We'll go back and forth. And hopefully by the end of this episode, you guys will understand what reparations is and why it needs to be implemented. So first, let's break down what it is. And what it is making amends for wrong and what has been done by paying money to or otherwise helping those who have been wronged. Okay, that's what reparations is. So from there, let's go into why, the descendants of the slaves in America should even get reparations, and what I want to say, Crispy, in other episodes, I'd really like to cover the other nations too.
Yes.
Because the same thing needs to happen in South America, Africa, in the islands and all that.
Correct.
But in this episode, guys, we're going to just focus on the United States of America. So, some of you might be at home or wherever you are listening and go, why should the descendants of the African slaves in America get reparations? Well, I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to break it down. And the first thing I'd like to touch on is the Civil War. And I know the Civil War came a little after, but let's touch on that real quick. So, after the Civil War, a lot of land was left, right, Chris?
Correct.
And when that land was left, Abraham Lincoln and others said, you know what? Because the South lost, a lot of land was just left. Abraham Lincoln and others said, we're going to give this land to the freed slaves.
And to be exact for me, what I found is General William Sherman issued an order.
Right. Absolutely. No, go ahead.
Yeah. They issued an order that to provide 40 acres and the loan of Army mule to set aside for each former slave family.
Yep.
So that would mean each family that was enslaved could now have 40 acres and a mule, which is a very, that statement, 40 acres and a mule, some people may be very familiar with. So,
right.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so in 1863, Lincoln ordered 20,000 acres of land confiscated in South Carolina to be sold to freed slaves in 20-acre plots, right? Each family would receive 40 acres, like Crispy just said, and so basically, it was 40,000 former slaves that lived on 400,000 acres of coastal land, which means it was even nicer.
Yeah, it sure was.
Because it was coastal land. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, so in March, Congress seemed to indicate plans for widespread land reform when it authorized the Freedmen's Bureau to divide confiscated land into small plots for sale to blacks and loyal Southern whites. Right?
So just by saying that, it's not even that it was just blacks who were going to benefit.
Right.
So
some of the Southern whites too. So less than a year after Sherman's order, President Andrew Johnson intervened and ordered the vast majority of confiscated land to be returned to its former owners. This included most of the land that freed slaves had settled on. The federal government dispossessed tens of thousands of black landowners in Georgia, South Carolina, and in some cases, a lot of the blacks fought back, driving away former owners with guns. And then federal troops came in and sometimes evicted blacks by force. In the end, only 2,000 blacks retained land they had won and worked after the war. Now, guys, keep in mind, this is after the Civil War, and this is after the South lost, and this is after slavery had already ended.
Yeah.
This is way after.
Correct.
So let's just touch on that for 1 second.
Okay.
Had those families been allowed to keep that land, imagine what the climate, the wealth would be within the black community to this day.
Totally different.
Let's just talk about the coastal property in the Carolinas and Georgia and all this stuff where this thing happened. So when you guys hear about the 40 Acres and a Mule, Spike Lee, his company's name is the name of his company is 40 Acres and a Mule Production and stuff like that.
Yep.
That's where it comes from. It was a promise made after Civil War that was implemented, but then reneged on.
Taken away.
It was taken away, and those blacks in that region at the time never received their 40 acres and a mule.
So some people want to say like reparations happened. Well, yes, it was initiated, but then it was vetoed. So was it ever fully fulfilled? Was it? No, it was never happened.
No, it wasn't. And the funny thing about it is that was just after the Civil War and that portion of time and layer of time. You know what I'm saying? It honestly didn't even cover the masses. Correct. That was just
just a one section. And you're right.
If one section.
If they would have been able to establish that area, build their whatever they wanted on their land, the wealth that would have passed on to the generations afterwards would have just elevated.
It would have been astronomical to this day.
And the fact that, which I always want to say, I kind of almost say that reparations leads into affirmative action. But anyway, it just would have made things equitable for a few. And that few could have helped so many more. Again,
absolutely.
We don't know where it would have all gone, but definitely something would have happened.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's just, I mean, even thinking about just what happened after Civil War pisses me off. You know what I mean? So, when people, and you know what, Chris, you know what I want to say? I was watching something on CNN earlier today, and they had a panel on, and the subject came up about the Electoral College and slavery and all that, which we covered in episode 1.
Yeah.
And I don't know his name, but one of the white senators or politicians on the panel said, honestly, when it comes to this topic, most white people should just shut up, because most of the times they don't know what they're talking about, and it's not based on any facts, and they usually piss off the African Americans in the room because they're not speaking facts. And to me, what we're talking about right now with just the 40 acres and a mule, when I'm thinking back to some people we know and stuff like that who say, well, what does it matter now, this, that, and the other?
It matters quite a bit.
It matters quite a bit, because
how did the Rockefellers make their money from history of that money being passed down. When the fact that blacks were not able to own land or and being able to pass that wealth on to your next, even if it wasn't a lot, just being able to pass that on. Like right now, as in the 20th century, we're able to have life insurance, and you're able to pass it on. You're able to buy a home, pass it on to your family. That is helping and making things feel equitable.
Oh, absolutely.
But the fact that you got 200 some years. No, 150.
I think it was 200-something years. 250-something years, actually.
Yeah, so this would have happened it was taken away in 1866. So let's just say, it's like 150 years where that wealth was not able to be moved on, but inherited, passed down to generations and descendants and stuff like that. It's huge.
To actually benefit from it.
Correct.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, how many acres was it? It was 20,000 and 400,000 acres of coastal land. Wow. Can you imagine that? 400,000 acres of coastal land. Can you imagine that? Like really? 400,000. Let me say it one more time. 400,000 acres of coastal land was seized, taken away from us. 400,000.
Yeah.
Okay. So when people go, oh well, you guys don't have this and that. Now you're starting to actually find out why.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It wasn't by choice. You know what I mean?
Correct.
So let's take it. Let's take it a little further, and I want to talk about some of the other cultures and races that.
Well, let me also add something to it.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's just that after that happened, it's not like it ended. Like the discussion of reparations right now is not new.
Right.
It's been discussed before in the past. So the second attempt at reparations happened at the turn of the century, for at that time, and there was several black organizations lobbied Congress to provide a pension for former slaves and their children. A bill was introduced in 1894, and it would have given a payment to the families of $500 to all ex-slaves, plus a monthly pension ranging from $4 to $15. Now, this is in 1894.
So if you translate it with inflation,
that's a whole different number.
A whole lot of money today. Yeah, a whole lot of money today.
And I will say, as expected, the bill died in congressional committees.
Okay.
And then World War I started, which basically reparations, the movement ended.
Right. Okay.
So I just wanted to
That's interesting. See, I didn't even know that. And see, so it just goes to show that a few times people have tried to actually do the right thing.
Yep.
But then you have some suckers who don't want to do the right thing, and it keeps going.
And this is where it sounds like we're probably going to be beating up on a particular group. But obviously it was Congress, which was made primarily of white men.
Of course it was back then.
Men, not just and they ended that. And then I'll add. So then in the 1960s, again, it was the black leaders revived the idea of reparations, and then at that time they demanded $500 million, but this time they wanted it from American churches and synagogues for their role in slavery before the Civil War.
Got you.
Because churches were using the word to enslave blacks and consider them inferior.
They were using religion to enslave blacks.
So they figured, hey, why not force the churches to give it? And groups like the Black Panther and Black Muslims also demanded reparations. And as we can guess, nothing happened.
It never happened. Wow.
So then in the 1980s, reparations was brought up again, and this time it went before the Supreme Court. And in 1980, so it was brought up again, and the reason why is in 1980, the Supreme Court ordered the federal government to pay 8 Sioux Indian tribes $122 million to compensate for the illegal seizure of tribal lands that happened in 1877.
Okay.
So my point in saying this is America, United States, has given reparations to another minority group, which was Native Americans, or to speak specific, the Sioux Indians, $122 million for the fact that their land was taken away. Right. So our 48, like you just said, was taken away, but nothing was done. And nothing's ever, Then in 1988, Congress approved the payment of $1.25 billion to 60,000 Japanese American citizens.
That's what I was about to talk about.
Oh, my bad. Yeah. Who were put in prison camps during World War II.
Right.
So again, two groups have been given reparations for the atrocities, for the things that were done against them.
Yep.
And yet, blacks are not.
Yeah. 1980, and to expound on what Crispy said. In 1988, President Reagan signed the Civil Liberties Act to compensate more than 100,000 people of Japanese descent who were incarcerated in internment camps during World War II.
Yep.
Right? The legislation offered a formal apology and paid out $20,000 in compensation to each surviving victim. The law won congressional approval only after a decade-long campaign by the Japanese American community. See? The Japanese got theirs.
Yeah, and I gotta say, they united and stuck together. You don't have any Uncle Tom.
They got theirs, and let's take it even further. So even after that, let's talk about the reparations that the Jewish community received, right? So around 3/4 of a century after the Holocaust ended, the extermination of 6 million Jews, some survivors as well as victims, families, and estates, received reparations from France in acknowledgement of the government's role in deporting them to Nazi death camps via French trains.
Oh, wow.
Right? So 49 people who made it out of the Holocaust alive are receiving $400,000 each, according to former ambassador of the State Department this person is an expert on Holocaust era issues.
And to add to that,
yeah.
I didn't write down the information for it, but I did read how in Germany, and did you get any of that info?
No.
Because again, I'm not going to give numbers, but Germany paid reparations also. I just wanted of millions of dollars.
Oh yeah, millions of dollars. So then from France, there was a second and last round of payments from France, which was $60 million, which was paid after the 2014 agreement in exchange for recipients relinquishing the right to sue. Money given to America from France to pay the Jews. So to make that clear, the French gave America in 2014, the 2014 agreement, $60 million to pay Jews.
So
so they even got
so even just hearing that sounds like when we discuss the stuff we're discussing and the fact that slavery was not just in America, it was widespread within even Africa and then South America. All those nations could could pull money together and send it where it needs to go.
Absolutely.
And so it's not just like on America
absolutely.
or the United States, I should say,
absolutely.
to do one thing.
And I forgot where I read, but I think they were saying that the number was like in the billions they actually owe us. Okay, so
yeah.
So the next thing I want to
here I got this. So
go ahead.
In in 1989, Ray Jenkins, who was a council member for the Detroit Civil Council, called for $40 billion, but to be put towards federal education fund for black college and trade school students. Mm-hmm. Around that time, a conference of black state legislators backed the idea of a federally financed education fund for descendants of slaves. And then shortly after, Representative John Conyers, Conyers, not sure how to, Jr., drafted a bill calling for a congressional commission to study the impact of slavery on African Americans. So the point in this is saying that he put a bill out, and it was every single time it would fail to make it past the House. And that's where it starts. It always starts at the House and it goes to Senate and and Connors, but I give him credit. He never gave up. He tried for every single year he was in office, and he was in office from 1989, and he resigned in 2017.
Okay, and he kept trying.
And so it's been, people have been trying to fix this and make this, but unfortunately, well, I'll tell you some of my real reasons why I think it's,
All right, guys. So a lot of you may say, well, why should America give you guys all this money? Mm-hmm. That's one of the questions they're going to say. Well, that was back then. This is now. Blah blah. So let me just say this. How would you like? Let's bring it down to a small analogy. Let's say you work, managing a nightclub downtown LA, or you run one of the wineries in town or whatever, and you work for a month straight. And after you finish working, the boss said, F you ain't getting paid for this month. Mm-hmm. And you got to keep working. You know what I'm saying? How would you feel?
Or let's say your father gives you some land.
Right.
A couple acres. You have it and you started putting a farm on it. Right. You build your little farm, and then the government comes in and is like, nah.
Yeah.
Get off. We're taking it.
Right.
And then you're like, but wait, I spent all this money, and what about the worth of it? And gives you nothing. Gives you nothing for it. And it's like, move on.
Yeah. So anyway, let's go into why, right? And I'm gonna read you guys like a little op-ed done by Tasha Williams, I'm sorry. And it was she wrote this August 5th of 2016. This is really, really good. And I took just moments from it, and I'm going to read it, and we can stop in it. We can stop and kind of expound on different parts. So the title of it was "What America, the House That Slavery Built." And once you guys hear this, then you'll understand why we need to be paid and why reparations are owed and due. You know, and the subtitle is "Minimizing How We Talk About Slavery. We Ignore Its Profound Impact on the Development of the American Economy." So here we go. Through forced labor and their existence, generations of enslaved Americans played an integral part in building the land of freedom and opportunity. Here's the real story. The one we Americans don't advertise is that we didn't emerge from ashes of the 20th century conflicts as a superpower, nor did we build our might solely from the muscles of Ellis Island. By the beginning of the 19th century, enslaved labor had both directly and indirectly turned the United States into one of the top 2 economic powers in the world. Right? So let's talk about that real quick.
So slavery, by the fact that they had free labor,
enslaved labor,
that America was able to build a product, which would have been cotton or whatever else they were having the slaves do.
Get to that in a second. Yeah.
But by doing that, they were able to make money off of their product, and it didn't benefit the slaves. And like I remember hearing, and you may have heard it too, where someone goes, "Oh, but they were clothed and fed so well." Anyway, go ahead.
So later, despite the ravages of the Civil War, the capital and infrastructure extracted the souls, sweat, and blood of enslaved African Americans, positioned a former backwater colony to navigate the Industrial Revolution. And in 1880, not 1917 or 1945, in 1880, the U.S. began to supersede its much older and more established rival, Great Britain. The shores of the U.S. in the following decades became a global beacon for economic opportunity and freedom for over 12 million new arrivals. Now, keep in mind, again, the slaves built everything, and they got free labor from the slaves, and it caused the United States to become an economic superpower. Then you had 12 million new immigrants come over after that and benefit off that, we still haven't gotten paid.
Nope. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So let's keep going. In 1840, cotton produced by slave labor constituted 59% of the country's exports. Here is another rarely discussed aspect of slavery that helped our nation's global economic footprint. So let's go back to that. 59% of the country's exports was cotton that was produced by slaves. Over half of the country of the United States export was produced by slaves. We never got a dime for that. You know what I'm saying?
Except for we were clothed and fed.
Yeah, we never got a dime for that. And then when we were fed, it was like the pig guts and chitlins and this and that and pork, and that's how we started eating pork and all. If you go back to Africa, we weren't eating that, and we're gonna cover that in a whole nother podcast. But let me keep going to finish this up. Now go ahead.
Okay, so God, I just lost my train of thought. Go ahead.
Okay, so the estimated, and guys, this actually gets deeper. The estimated market value of the enslaved population by 1860 had reached 7 times the value of the currency in circulation.
What I was going to say is not only, like I'm kind of making sort of fun of the whole clothing and whatever, but not only are you having people brought here and then sold, but then the way they ripped apart families.
Oh yeah.
If today people are looking at the immigration thing, I just want to kind of point out how everyone is so sad and upset how families were taken apart. Kids are here, parents are here. Nowadays, with the whole coming across the border and stuff. But they literally rip families apart. The idea, I mean, we'll definitely get into more of how that is, but it was not just by chance. It was systematic. It was, written. Yeah. It was someone came up with the idea of, we do this to keep the slaves down. So, ripping apart families and then, whipping them, beating them, raping the women. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So again, let me go over this last line again, because this is a deep subject. The estimated market value of the enslaved population by 1860 had reached 7 times the value of the currency in circulation. Now I really want our listeners to listen to that, absorb it, write it down, and research it. Just that one line right there.
Say that again.
You know what I mean? The estimated market value of the enslaved population by 1860 reached 7 times the value of currency in circulation. You know what I mean? When a slaveholder needed cash, he had 3 options. 1, rent out the labor of a person he held in bondage. 2, sell that enslaved person to someone else. Or 3, maximize profits by leveraging the enslaved person as highly liquid collateral against loans to finance wealth increasing activities.
So again, they were nothing but possessions and things.
Right.
They're never looked at as people.
They weren't even looked at as people.
Which kind of goes back to our whole 5. The 3 for 5.
You got 3 for 5, right? So let me read to you guys option 3 one more time. It's deep. The third option, when a slave owner needed cash back in 1800s, was maximizing profits by leveraging the enslaved person as highly liquid collateral against loans to finance wealth increasing activities.
So it's like if I wanted to go to money or a bank and go, I'll give you use my car as collateral.
Yeah.
But no, it's going to be this.
Give you my slaves.
My slaves.
Yeah, that's collateral back then. And then this, enslaved humans, therefore, boosted the economy, not only with their labor, but by living and breathing as a relatively liquid asset. Businesses were established and goods were made using people in bondage as collateral. So even when great emancipation came, the formerly enslaved still maintained a stake in the economy that was purchased with their very lives. You know what I'm saying? The value of human collateral wasn't only exploited by plantation owners and farmers. Institutions that control our markets and society to this day, such as banks like J.P. Morgan Chase and Ivy League universities like Yale, profited handsomely from slavery. Collateral could create new money through issuance of loans. Collateral and slave labor, of course, could make new construction happen before there was cash in hand. Furthermore, the need to protect human capital-based wealth, according to Columbia University professor, I can't pronounce his name, I don't want to butcher it, helped to give rise to a modern and sophisticated system of property rights and financial contracts. Thus, the legal frameworks of capitalism as it exists in the U.S. today came out of the interest of those who held people in bondage for profits. So, tell me again why they owe us? You know what I'm saying? Hold on, Chris, before you say every single thing that they own to this day.
Yes.
From the White House, Washington being built by slaves.
Yes.
Ellis Island. I mean, I can go on and on and on. The cotton that was sold that we were never paid for. From the fact of our ancestors being used as collateral to finance things and get things built and constructions and finance activities and stuff like that. We were never paid.
Never given compensation.
They owe us billions of dollars.
Yes.
Billions of dollars. And look, this is the last thing I want to say, and I'll let you chime in. I'm not one of those guys that's just saying, hey, they owe us billions and trillions, pay up. Because to me, that's kind of silly. The way I think that it should happen, the money should be given and dispersed to like our leaders, like let's say Harry Belafonte, Oprah, Barack Obama, those people. And to me, a system of rehabilitation, education, and then reparations must take place. Because what I don't want to see happen is they disperse these billions to us, and because we're not educated and rehabilitated, we just blow it. Okay, so hold on. And you see cats rolling around in Cadillacs, and you ask them, you know, or Mercedes Benz or whatever it may be, and you ask them, hey, did you invest in some land and property? Did you put money away? And because what a lot of people don't realize is that after slavery happened and all that, we were never rehabilitated from that and educated. So to me, that must happen in the process of reparations. To me, that is a must.
I mean, unfortunately, the part that after, you know, during slavery, obviously education was not allowed.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to read.
And then afterwards, when you would think, you know, when everyone says slavery ended, you know, and we will definitely discuss this too, which is Jim Crow.
Yeah,
that was enacted.
We'll do a whole episode on Jim Crow.
I know, but I mean, that was enacted. So that, again, was a way of oppressing blacks. So it's not like anything was ever done to rectify the past. Ever.
Yeah.
And, you know, like people say, well, today, you know, so-and-so's a millionaire. Oh, today, or, you know, we just had a black president. Yeah, that was great. But do we see the backlash off of that? But anyway, I get the whole idea that you just don't want to throw out money because people will get frivolous.
Yeah,
but at the same time, is that, I've never heard someone make that statement when it comes to any other culture, any other ethnicity. So it's just like, black people are just going to blow it.
No.
That's what I'm not.
I mean, though.
I know. I'm just saying that. Yeah. I just want to say that, you know, one of the first things I was going to say is opposition to reparations. They say there's no black slaves living today. True, but there's still descendants of it, and it's still. And the effects of it
being affected by
is
how
dealing with it.
Forefathers,
correct,
and grandparents were never paid.
And but you know, and things have not been equitable. Right. Is what so slavery ended more than 160 years ago at the cost of several 100,000 lives lost in the Civil War. That's not our fault.
Right.
You know, like it is unfair to ask American taxpayers, many of them from families that came to the United States after slavery ended, to pay for the wrongs of slavery. Yeah, I get you what I'm saying, but the thing is, yes, exactly. So it's the benefits outweigh really what's going to be paid back.
Right.
And here's some more oppositions that people say. The problems faced by African Americans today are not the legacy of slavery or even racism. Bullshit. Bullshit. Yes, we are still dealing with that today. And it's because not only after slavery was done, Jim Crow, and then when you talk about affirmative action, and I hear white friends, I wouldn't even really call them white friends, that I just hear white people discuss that are so upset about it, like, why did this person get this job? But yet, it's, as blacks, we feel like we have to work so much harder in order to be equitable to the lowest common denominator.
Right.
And what I'm saying by that is you got Barack Obama, who a lot of people dismiss, say how badly he was, say he tried to be more of a star than a president or something like along those lines. But then George W. Bush wasn't the smartest man in the world. Not an A student, definitely not in Barack Obama's class, but he was president. So again, that's I just want to say that here, I always felt like the president should be the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
And and lately it seems like it's becoming lower and lower. But if a black person, and I would even say if a woman were to try to become president, you have to be so much smarter and better. Yeah. And where am I going with this? Is just that it's not equal. It's still not equal. And so I do get passionate. I do get heated about this stuff. So right now, I'm heated as I listen. The problems of poor African Americans caused by social ills, social problems within the inner city, such as the breakdown family, high crime rates, and dependence of welfare. Again, this is all dealing with the fact that slavery, no one was compensated. And as generations go on, you're fighting for a job. You're fighting to survive.
What the listeners got, if I can interject real quick, Chris, I think what our listeners need to realize is that poor inner city guys that's 10 minutes from you, 20 minutes from you, an hour from you, when slavery was abolished and we still had nothing, it wasn't like that. But as the lack of opportunity was perpetuated through time, it actually caused the environment for blacks to be fighting, killing each other. Because when you can't survive and you're in close proximity,
well, you go after the one you're closest to. And that's just like in white communities. They're all going to fight against each other too. Again, with Latin America and Asia, anyone. Anytime you're close to someone, but when your poverty is so low, all you can do is go after the next person next to you. It's not, and of course, y'all don't want someone coming into your neighborhoods, obviously. But
so to like piggyback on that, if we were compensated correctly for our work, and we had that generational wealth that would have derived from slavery, we would be in a completely different space in the United States economically.
And you know what?
And the stuff you see, you would not be seeing. I'm sorry, you would not be seeing it. And I'm not saying if that wouldn't have happened, you wouldn't have two black people on the street that get in a fight over a girl and like kill each other. I'm not saying that's not going to happen. Yeah. People are going to have conflicts. But the mass conflicts you see because of poverty and lack of wealth and lack of jobs in these communities,
so like
and
you
the
said,
murder and the crime,
people went to the cities.
Is a direct relation to the lack of economics that we never inherited from our ancestors that was old.
Correct.
Go ahead. Yeah.
And then I'm going to just add to that is the inner cities that people are so afraid of and discuss and talk about. You had people who moved there because that was the opportunity to make money. There was a time when being in the city was thriving because you had factories and stuff like that, and then all of a sudden things changed and moved away outside of the city, moved to different countries, and then people are stuck because they never had, because of the fact that when they moved there they had nothing. Right. And then they had nothing to pass on to their generations when they got there after a while, and so. As we say, it just keeps perpetuating because it was a never equitable thing. The getting jobs, getting opportunities has always been, well, up until I'll say 1965 when, or 1964 when the Civil Rights Act was enacted, and then everyone was equal. But just that's the issue, is that people moved to the city because they thought, because there were jobs, and then those jobs went away. Still, again, it's still factories.
But you know what's funny? Even talking about that, had we kept our 400,000 acres, had we had our 40 acres of the mule down the south, a lot of those, I forget the huge numbers that migrated to the north to Chicago and New York and stuff back then to leave slavery.
There was also Rosewood.
Yeah, I know about Rosewood in Florida, and we wouldn't have even had to leave.
Correct. And what I want to say about bringing up Rosewood is you did. I mean, not. But one thing I wanted to point out is Rosewood is an example, and in Black Wall Street, those are examples of where blacks were able to make something out of nothing, and then they did within themselves, and they thrived. And what happened is white people came in and rioted and destroyed and burned it down, killed people. People left, ran away. So even the times that we do build our own stuff, get our own stuff together, and it's been taken away.
And never got the reparations, but still went and created something. It was
and it's still taken.
So every time
did you know that Central Park?
Wealth, it was taken.
Did you know that in Central Park that was an actual thriving area too, and then kicked everyone out, and it's a nice
which
park.
We'll talk about on another episode. Central Park, the story behind Central Park in New York. We have a lot to cover, but going back to what you were saying earlier, kind of like going back to what you were saying about what I was saying about rehabilitation, education, reparations. I wasn't picking on us because no one says that about the other races. What I was simply trying to say is, because of what happened to us and how we weren't allowed to read, and
I'm agreeing with you.
And we were robbed of our religion, our culture, our God. I mean, everything.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying?
No, this is more for the audience. I'm saying,
I got you.
Not just to you.
Just
saying that when people say, blacks have no control over, don't know how to manage money. We do. We've done it. Yeah. And the thing is
that's another big misconception. You know what, Crispy, when I said that, I don't mean all of us need to be rehabilitated education.
Correct.
Some of us do.
Some of us don't.
Some of us do. Some
but
of us
that's
don't.
across the board. Is
the
what
ones
the
that
thing
need to be rehabilitated and educated before they get the reparations. I'm saying we need to actually do that. And you know what? Each one teach one. So let's say we knew a brother in our mix, and reparations took place, and we knew he needed to be rehabilitated. I think it's our duty and our job to rehabilitate that brother and or sister, educate them, and say, hey, you have this $1 million or whatever it is sitting in the bank. This is what you actually need to do.
That's almost like I mean, that's right now. I feel like I would do, and if you have family members. Someone loses a mother, father, whoever, and then gets a life insurance of $200,000, $300,000, even $100,000, something. Right. That's a lot of money, and most people might end up going out and just blowing it real quick. Yeah, I agree. And then others would go, "Oh, I realize I need to make this work for me," and they would be smart and invest it. But again, that mentality is not just within the black community. That's I just kind of like to emphasize that because it seems that when politicians are given that question, they're scared to answer because I think the mentality is that black people don't know how to manage money.
Right, and that's not true at all. Guys, to reiterate, remember, after slavery and the Civil War and all that, we managed money. Yeah. We had Black Wall Street in Oklahoma. We had cities like Rosewood. it goes on and on and on. Yeah. We managed money even after what we went through, and we weren't able to allow to read and write and all that. We still came out of that managing money. Yes. The stuff you guys see today in these inner cities with these poor people and them killing each other and stuff, that is like a mentality. And
it's off of Jim Crow too, though.
And a culture that was perpetuated out of Jim Crow, out of a systemic system pushing us in that corner. That's not how we were. Think out of slavery.
How can you have a good family when the laws are made to, like, say I'm walking down the street and the police officer just pulls up, and I'm referring to like after slavery, and they create laws. And specifically about black people to say, hey, this person is loitering, put them in jail. Oh yeah. And then that was, and my reason for bringing up Jim Crow and how it kind of deals with reparations is Jim Crow was a different form of slavery. It was basically incarcerating black people and putting them in prisons and then making them slaves state or government, basically, a different form of slavery, and then having them going out and doing and working for again pennies of you got something, so, but you got but then you again disrupted the family, disrupted families, did not allow money to be just brought in. If someone had a job, then they obviously probably lost it. But those things really affected us today, and it's causing the problems that, like you say, the inner city. People don't just want to go out robbing people,
right, and killing each other
and stealing from here or there. People want to live like everyone else. I would love to be able to, you know.
I mean, it's a system, again, that's been purposely and consciously perpetuated to keep us down and impoverished and stuff like that. And I know you guys may say, well, what about Jay-Z? What about Oprah? What about all these far and few betweens? Listen, let me tell you what I have to say to that. I've heard Jay-Z himself say, who's almost a billionaire now, say, I'm not free until everybody's free. And that's an absolute fact. Because you know what? If Jay-Z is sitting up here almost being a billionaire and riding around his cars, him and Beyonce and stuff, he'll never feel comfortable and safe, because that guy walking up the street next to him is still in that systemic system of slavery that still exists to this day, where reparations never was paid, ever. You know what I'm trying to say? We're not saying that everybody is meant to be a billionaire. We're not saying that.
Correct.
Once reparations is paid,
that all of a sudden blacks are going to be rich and walking around.
Every single black person is going to be a millionaire. What we are saying is we will finally be paid for the work that was never paid for, and we will have a system of wealth, generational wealth, that sits there that we can actually bank on and survive off of, so we don't have to kill each other and beat down each other's throats for no reason and stuff like that. And those who excel in their field, whether it's arts, entertainment, sports, whatever, those will still excel.
Correct.
All that stuff will still exist. You know what I'm trying to say? But just the ghettos, the inner cities, the property, the land that's owed to us, that'll just be where it needs to be and in a better place, and we'll all be able to benefit from it and pass it down to our kids and our kids' kids.
And that's what everyone wants to be able to do.
There's a lot of land in the U.S. Yeah. When I'm riding between here and Vegas, I see a lot of empty space out there.
Yeah.
Give us our shit. That's all I got.
I mean, you're right. There's a lot of areas where,
there's a lot of land.
Never looked in Wyoming, but I might move.
And I hear it's in the billions or trillions. Pay us and give us our shit. That's what I have to say about this episode. You know what I'm saying? You have anything more you want to add?
Okay, so I'm just kind of going to go again over the pros and cons. Another one was the federal and state government have already spent billions of dollars on social programs such as welfare, subsidizing housing, healthcare, employment, development, affirmative action, and education. I'm sorry, these benefit African Americans, but it's supposed to benefit everyone.
Right.
So it's not just, a program that only benefits African Americans, or programs that have been established do not just benefit African. And the reason why I kind of want to say it like that is I remember hearing a statement that, and it might have been on CNN or somewhere, that Trump actually thought that all black people were on welfare, or only black people were only welfare.
Serious?
So my point, by saying that I just want this understood is, and we will get on that we will talk about that, but not all black people. It's not just black people on welfare. So anyone who thinks that, you're just wrong. African Americans, particularly the young, need to overcome their problems through their own efforts and not depend on more government handouts and benefits. This would not be a handout.
No,
this is again to repay for the yes.
Our ancestors did the work and was never paid for it, and as a result, we live in conditions that's not conducive to work that we should have gotten paid for. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's that simple.
And I get
pay us for the work,
and we agree. And this is it's basically what everyone says. You work hard, you should be able to pay. You get paid for your job, and obviously that was not done. It was not done. Reparations would be too expensive, depriving the country of the opportunity to fix the Social Security and Medicare systems and meet other budgets. But yet, you'll do tax cuts that'll benefit the rich.
Right.
So I don't understand that one. Any reparations plan would lead to unfairness and huge administration costs. Who would receive reparations?
Descendants. Hold on, stop right there. Why wasn't it unfair when the Japanese got it and when the Jews got it?
I would love to.
No one's saying nothing about that.
Yeah, that's a very interesting. Yeah, like we said.
And when the Indians got it, no one said it was unfair then.
We get it. I mean, I'm sure there was some. I mean, there might have been a little opposition, but it wasn't as big as. As soon as a person is asked about reparations, it's like, oh no, there's no slavery now. There's no slavery. No one's. It happened and it wasn't done. It was promised and it wasn't given.
Right.
And I don't know if we want to close on this, but just that. That's the biggest thing. It was promised, it wasn't given. The slaves did the work, and the country benefited from slavery.
Oh, yeah, I mean, and even if it wasn't promised, work was done, it needs to be paid.
Yeah.
Period. Just plain and simple. Pay up.
And then...
These are all the ancestors of the slaves. Pay up. Period. Yeah. You owe us. Like, you owe our grandparents. Pay up. Yeah. I mean, it's that simple. It ain't even about I don't care if they promised or didn't promise.
Yeah.
Work was done. It was never compensated.
Yeah.
Period.
It was, and everyone would agree. I think would agree that it was a wrong thing to have done anyway. Course. So the repayment is just
and you want to know something funny? And maybe we can close on this. I can feel intuitively that this is going to happen. Everyone's talking about it again. I was just looking at one of the presidential candidates on the Breakfast Club the other day. He was talking about this $1,000 thing to give to everyone and this, that, and the third. And I honestly think that this is going to come back up, and I think within our lifetime it's finally going to happen, some way, form, or fashion. I honestly believe that. You know what I mean? I'm gonna keep hope. I'm telling you, I honestly believe it's gonna happen.
Okay, keep hope.
And you know what, guys? In one of the other episodes, we'll touch on South America, because what a lot of people don't know is that over 8 million slaves were taken to South America, more than was taken to the U.S. And we'll talk about slaves that were taken to islands like where I'm from, Trinidad and Tobago, and what happened there. And reparations that need to be had there, and so it goes on and on. In this episode, we talked about America, but we will cover reparations for Mexico, for South America, Brazil, Portugal. I mean, I'm talking not Portugal. I meant the Portuguese came and colonized.
So I mean Brazil.
Yeah, Brazil.
Colombia.
Yeah, all those countries. Colombia. We're going to cover them all, but this one was about America because we live in America and it's been talked about a lot lately, but it needs to happen. Those Africans that's in the favelas in Brazil, up in the hills, they need to come on down the hill. You know what I'm saying? Let me just say that. And we're going to touch on that, talk about that history as well, and really get into it. So yeah, that's it.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys.
And really subscribe. I think the stuff we are discussing is important. It will affect your life.
It's education.
It's very educational.
Your kids.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And again, you could research all this stuff. Again, this is a podcast about truth. You know what I mean?
And if you have a topic that you would like us to also look into or discuss, let us know.
Yeah.
Please leave a comment.
No, we're just getting started. It's the HPR Chronicles Podcast with Shakur and Smith. Again, this isn't pro-black or pro-white. It's pro-truth. We deal in facts only. None of this is our opinions. These are just facts. We deal in facts. If you see me out somewhere and you start talking to me about this stuff, you start just talking opinions, I swear I'm going to walk away. I'm about facts only. I'm about facts. You know, it's the truth. If it offends you, I'm sorry, not sorry. Once again, it's HPR Chronicles, and we're out. We'll see you next week.
Peace.
Peace.